Hello everybody, Mannix here. It is time for a gun review. Yes, the first ever gun review on this channel. And what a more appropriate gun to review than my first gun I've ever owned. A Cobra Derringer in 38 Special. Let's unload this guy. Not loaded. Safety is on, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how this functions if you're not terribly familiar with these things. But basically I got it all those years ago because I was pretty low on cash, like I always was, like most of us were when we were young. Subcompact, I say beyond subcompact. You got your compact pistols, your subcompacts, and this is beneath that, I would say. It's so tiny. For a 38 Special anyway. Of course, most people are familiar with the 22 LR Derringers, which are even smaller and slimmer than this. So for a Derringer, it's kind of fat, it's kind of chunky actually, but they have even larger ones than these with different calibers. For a Derringer, I say it's pretty big. Pretty beautiful gun though. It's very simple, very cool looking, I think. It just reminds me of little Western guns. It's like a fatter, bigger, larger, more powerful version of the typical, sleeve gun with the 22 LR that you see from Django Unchained or something. Disadvantage is these are pretty high on the recoil. You don't have a whole lot to grip onto here. It's kind of comfortable and all. You can see the groove right here and what I think this is the rosewood insert, although you can swap these out with pretty much anything. These come with these beautiful rosewood inserts. This is a nickel plated finish they have on the steel alloy. It is single action only, just like pretty much every Derringer I know of is. You got to pull the hammer back all the way to fire it. It has interchanging firing pins. So let me show you how this works. The safety is on right now. It is cross bolts, push to fire. Made pretty obvious right there. So now it is disengaged, the safety is off. We're going to turn this crank right here, which releases the double barrel. So that's how it locks into place, just like that. Release it. Let's get some snap caps right here. These look like very realistic 38 Specials. They feel and weigh just like them, but they're not. You can see the two firing pins right there. Then you have to pull this back all the way. It's half cocked right now. Fully cocked. That would fire. Now, if we take a look inside of it, you can see one of the firing pins is now exposed. That was the top one right there that just fired. Let's fire again. And you can see the bottom one is exposed. So that's how it works. It's just the firing pins interchange. And if you want to see how this works even more so, when you pull it down halfway, it sucks them both back in. And now you're able to close it. So one thing I did notice about these things is you do have to have it half cocked in order to close the barrels with live rounds. Otherwise, the exposed firing pin, either one of them that will be in the way when the hammer is closed, will get in the way of the bullets, so you won't be able to close it. So you got to have this half cocked in order to close it, as well as to engage the safety mechanism. So we're going to turn that crossbolt safety on right there, so it's on now. So you cannot pull the trigger unless it's, whether the safety is on or not, you can't pull the trigger unless it's fully cocked all the way. Even if I do pull the trigger, even though the crossbolt is on, it won't fire. As you can see, the firing pin is still exposed right there. It did not go inside because the crossbolt got in the way. So that's how the safety works. And on top of that, the trigger is pretty hard to pull. You have to pull it on a downward angle. You don't just want to pull it inward. These guns do take some getting used to. This one does anyway. You just fire it like that. You gotta get it on just the right angle or it won't fire. Again, these triggers are intended to be hard to fire for a reason. There is no trigger guard right here. Just kind of the nature of these guns. The recoil is pretty bad on these, even for 38 Specials. There's just not a whole lot to hold on to here. That's just how the gun is designed. It's supposed to be very, very tiny. I mean, you could complain about not having a larger handle, not having a trigger guard here. Yeah, but then now it's going to be a bigger gun. It's not going to be compact anymore. It's a very, very, very tiny compact gun for a 38 Special. Can't really get too much smaller than this for that caliber, so you could fit this into a pocket. So pretty cool as far as that is concerned. But functionality-wise, and going back to ergonomics, my ring finger rides up in this point right here in the handle. It's not the most comfortable. But it's not terrible either. It's actually okay. The recoil is really bad. It kind of flips out of my hand almost like that every time I shoot it, no matter how hard I seem to try and hold on to this thing. These handle scales right here are just somewhat slippery, I suppose. I mean, they're good. It's just like when you fire with a 38 Special with such a small gun, regardless, it's going to kind of try to fly out of your hand. And the accuracy is not good on Derringers in general, not just this one, but all Derringers have very poor accuracy simply just because it's such a short barrel. So you can be 3 yards away from a target, you'll still be lucky to hit it depending on what it is in some cases. However, these things are very cheap. I got this at a gun show maybe in 2014, I want to say, 2013, somewhere around there for maybe 140 bucks new. I don't know what these retailed at. I don't think they make this exact model anymore, but maybe you can find them, maybe you can't. I looked around briefly on Google. It's kind of tricky to find information on these. We have a barrel length of 2.75 inches. Overall length is 4.65 inches. Says the weight unloaded is 14 ounces, so just under a pound. Let's use my scale to weigh that, and let's unload it here. And that's how you would unload it. Just open up the barrel, and then you can extract these spent shells this way. They will expand a bit. Sometimes they get a little stuck, so you're going to need some elbow grease sometimes. Just keep that in mind as well. My scale's saying 13.63 ounces, so they're not too far off there. Just under 14. So if you wanted to carry this, you certainly could. It'll fit in your pocket. It's not going to go off on you too easily, again, because you have to have this fully cocked and the safety off in order for that to happen. So you would just normally carry it probably like this. I would carry it safety off because it's not going to go off anyway if it was in your pocket. But if that dark and rainy day came, you could pull this all the way back, and then it would be ready to fire. So it's not the most dangerous gun in the world to carry. It is kind of difficult to pull that trigger. You got to get on just the right angle. But again, there is no trigger guard there. But you do have to pull the hammer back all the way. So it's a pretty slow gun. I feel like you can practice with it, just like that after you break it in for a while. But the gun is pretty stiff, especially out of the box. Again, the trigger is kind of hard to pull. The recoil is pretty bad. It's not accurate. But the advantages, the good things this gun does have going for it are, one, price, ridiculously cheap. Again, about $150 if you can find these new. And two, it's extremely small. For a 38 special anyway. For a Derringer, I say it's pretty big. But again, for a pistol, it's not that big at all. It's actually very, very tiny. You only get 2 rounds. And yes, it's extremely inaccurate, but for self-defense situations, when you're within just a couple yards, I'm talking no more than maybe 3 yards or so, it will probably hit them. But even then, it's just so inaccurate. If you're just on just the wrong angle. We have fixed sights right here, if you can check that out. Sights are almost completely meaningless. It's so inaccurate. If you've never fired one of these things, you don't know what I'm talking about. You can think, I can hit something with that. You'll shoot the target just a couple yards away, and you'll be surprised. You may not hit the target at all. One of those 2-foot wide ones. They're so inaccurate. It's not even funny. They're clunky, inaccurate, bad recoil. It's just, I don't recommend these. They do work, they do fire, they're very close range guns, and they're very small, very lightweight for a 38 special. Again, that's what's great about these, and they're very affordable. So even if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world. You didn't shell out, $500 or something. It's just less than $200 typically. So, and I think they're good looking. There's a novelty factor here. It's like a cowboy gun or something. That's why I got it. I just think they're cool. But practically speaking, even for the money, I do not recommend this for defense. I just see it as a range gun or a plinker, but even then it's not exactly a fun gun to shoot because it's kind of probably going to hurt your wrist after a while just because that recoil, and it's going to slip out of your grip a lot. It's cool and all, it is good looking, there is novelty here, and it is affordable. Again, very, very tiny. If you just want an extra gun on you for whatever reason to conceal carry in a pocket or something, yeah, you can throw it on you, sure, why not? I just don't recommend it because it's not reliable enough as far as its accuracy is concerned. But it is cool, I'll give it that. It's damn cool, very cool. Little double barrel pistol. So there you go. It's a Cobra 38 Special Derringer.